Many people say that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the GOAT of bodybuilding, but who does he say is the GOAT? In this video, I'm going to take you through who he says are the top 3 bodybuilders of all time. And all of this information comes from a great interview that he recently did with Nick Strength and Power. If you haven't watched it yet, I encourage you to go over to his channel and make sure to check it out. Now, first of all, it should be noted that Arnold says the greatest of all time should really be left up to the fans and the audience. He didn't say that he was the greatest or anything like that. He seems to be much more humble these days than he used to be.
That's perfect already. Oh yeah.
So he didn't really give a top 3 list, but he did mention 3 names and he did say that his number 1 was the GOAT. So without further ado, coming in at number 3 is the one and only Ronnie Coleman. Now most people actually consider this guy the GOAT of bodybuilding. He tied the record for 8 Mr. Olympia wins with another competitor that we'll talk about in just a bit. He was apparently anywhere from 287 to 300 pounds on stage after he's already cut. And in the off season, he was around 315 to 330 pounds. He was 5'11" and had arms that were 24 inches, which is crazy, a chest that was anywhere from 56 to 60 inches, and a waist that was 36 inches, which is kind of wide in general, but for someone that big, that's super narrow. On top of this, he's probably the strongest Mr. Olympia ever. It was recorded that he deadlifted 800 pounds for 2 reps, squatted 800 pounds for 2 reps, and benched 500 pounds for 5 reps. That's like mind-blowing. I can't even comprehend what 800 pounds would look like on the bar in real life. So he started competing at a high level in 1990 where he won the Mr. Texas competition in both the heavyweight and overall divisions. And the next year he won the World Amateurs. And then after that he won a lot more competitions until in 1998 he won his first Mr. Olympia competition, beating out Flex Wheeler. And if you don't know Flex, you should, because he's got one of the greatest aesthetic physiques of all time. After this, he won 7 more titles, tying the record at 8, which is 1 more than Arnold himself. And I kind of question if that's one of the reasons Arnold put him on the list. And eventually he was dethroned by Jay Cutler in 2006. He was really known as the GOAT of bodybuilding because of his extreme mass, but to go along with that, he was pretty aesthetic, especially in his early years, and he had extremely good conditioning. He had striations all over his back and glutes. It was incredible. Alright, so before we get to number 2, I want to give you an honorable mention, the person that actually inspired Arnold probably the most, and that is Reg Park. Now, he was Mr. Britain and won the Mr. Universe several times. And if you don't know, the Mr. Universe was once the biggest competition in the world before the Olympia. He was 6'1" and around 214 to 222 pounds on stage. And Arnold actually credited Reg Park as a source of inspiration and even used his training and nutritional methods when he first started out. Reg Park was also an actor who played Hercules, and if you don't know, one of Arnold's first roles was actually as Hercules in New York. Alright, so moving to number 2, we have the one and only Lee Haney. This was the guy that actually beat Arnold's record for most Mr. Olympia titles. Arnold had won it 7 times, Lee Haney won it 8. And like I mentioned before, Ronnie Coleman eventually tied that, but this record still stands to this day. He was 6 foot tall and anywhere from 230 to 260 pounds on stage. He had around a 56-inch chest, 21-inch arms, and a 32.5-inch waist, which created a very aesthetic V-taper. A 32.5-inch waist is crazy, especially for someone that weighs in the mid-200s. He started competing in the 70s where he became the 1979 Teen Mr. America and eventually won his first Mr. Olympia competition in 1984. And he never lost that title for a span of 8 years. On top of being one of the best bodybuilders of all time, he's also just simply known as one of the nicest ones. In fact, he and Ronnie Coleman are both known to be super nice people. Alright, so before I get to number 1, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell as it really helps out the channel. And finally, the person that Arnold Schwarzenegger says is the GOAT of all of bodybuilding. It may come as a surprise to you, he's never won a Mr. Olympia competition because they didn't have it when he competed, and that is Steve Reeves. He was a bodybuilder and also an actor. And funny enough, he also played Hercules. So the 2 people that really inspired Arnold both played Hercules, and then he played Hercules as well. Something about that role. On top of playing Hercules, he was also Goliath in another role. So he actually won the Mr. America, Mr. World, and Mr. Universe competitions. And allegedly, he was also a lifetime natural bodybuilder. And I think you can see that. He's got a very natural-esque physique, and if he ever did take anything, it wasn't much. This physique is very obtainable compared to modern-day bodybuilders. So he stood in around 6'1" and weighed anywhere from 215 to 225 pounds and had 18.5-inch arms, a 52-inch chest, and a shocking 29-inch waist. 29 inches, that's wild. The only Mr. Olympia I can think of that has a smaller waist was probably Sergio Oliva. And maybe Frank Zane. So Frank Zane also had a 29-inch waist, which is crazy because Frank Zane is seen as like the GOAT of aesthetics. So a lot of people said that Steve Reeves had the perfect physique, mimicking that of a Greek statue. Along with Arnold, Frank Zane, Lou Ferrigno, and Sylvester Stallone, as well as many others, were inspired by him. After his bodybuilding and acting career, he would go on to become a successful business owner and author. He wrote several books on bodybuilding and fitness and owned several gyms throughout the United States. And despite all of his accomplishments, he never stopped helping other people achieve their fitness goals. So these are Arnold's top 3 bodybuilders, or at least the ones he mentioned in the interview. I'd love to know who your top 3 of all time are. Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Who knows, maybe it'll inspire them to start gaining some muscles.